have the college loan forgiveness plan has been blocked. It has been blocked twice at this point for two different stupid lawsuits. The first one is lawsuits from some states. There are 6 states that decided to file a lawsuit to try to stop student loan forgiveness, and and the sorry, they have tried to stop student loan forgiveness, and their justification for it is the loan servicing companies, the companies that actually take your money, collect it, give it to the federal government as payment for the loans. They take a cut off the top of that money that you give them. If you give them money for your student loans, if you are not paying directly to the U.S. Department of Education website, which nobody is because they farm out the paperwork for running these student loan programs to private companies. Those private companies get a cut of that money. They get to profit off of their service of servicing the debt, and that generates some tax income for some of the states. So the states are claiming that it's unconstitutional for this program to go through, and their basis for damages, because you have to be able to prove that you are incurring some kind of loss because of the whatever program you're trying to sue for. You have to prove that you're going to incur some kind of loss for it. The loss that they're saying they're incurring is they're going to lose tax dollars from these companies. So the states are suing because they want money. They're trying to take student loan payments from somebody in Maine that happens to go through a company that is based in their state, and because they get some tax money from it, they want to screw that person in Maine. They're saying that the taxes that they make off the company that collects your money in a different state is grounds for the whole program being canceled, because they're going to lose a revenue stream. And I'm over here listening to it like it's a really stupid thing to claim damages for. But some judge in the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is one step below the Supreme Court, um, and if you don't know anything about the Eighth Circuit, it covers it covers Texas and the states surrounding the Texas area. It's incredibly Republican, incredibly Republican. Every decision that comes out that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for like what? Why are you canceling this thing that seems like it's a good thing? If you look, 9 times out of 10, it's the Eighth Circuit, because they are just absolutely packed with ideological Republicans in that court. And so the St. Louis-based Eighth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals judge said that Missouri has grounds to sue the Department of Education over this tax thing. And it's like, states that are supposed to be solidly Republican, that are supposed to be about, they claim to be about, less government, small government, less taxes. They're claiming that the taxes they're collecting from this company, who gets their money servicing a loan from the government in D.C., but the money that comes from somebody in a different state, like that money should be theirs. And that is a loss that they are unwilling to incur. They want that student in Boston to pay that bill in Missouri. And this is not some like pie in the sky, like, oh, the government, they're going to make somebody else pay for like the student loan forgiveness. No, the government can write checks and not really have to worry about where the money comes from to pay for it, if the money comes at all. But these companies need to have a revenue stream because they're a private company. They can't print their own money. So that revenue stream comes from that person in Boston. Like, this is a direct line. It goes person in Boston, company in Missouri, taxes to the Missouri government. That's what they're suing over. It's essentially an income tax for college kids that gets paid to Missouri even if you don't live there. And that's the revenue stream that they're complaining they're going to lose. It's fucking insane. It's so dumb. And the other one that came up was another Eighth Circuit Court judge, but this one was in Texas. There are two people. Federal judge in Texas on Thursday ruled that President Joe Biden's plan to cancel hundreds of billions of dollars of student loan debt was unlawful and must be vacated, delivering a victory to conservative opponents of the program. Excuse me. The judge's ruling came in a lawsuit by two borrowers. So this lawsuit is from two people with student loans who are partially or fully ineligible for the loan forgiveness of Biden's plan offered. The plaintiffs argued it did not follow proper rulemaking processes and was unlawful. So these people are complaining. These two people, I'm assuming they're getting paid somehow for this, but they're complaining that there was no comment period when they started the student loan program, because there's a rule that says that if you're going to start a program or make massive changes to a program, and you're in a federal agency, the federal agency must open a comment period for the public to give their thoughts, concerns, questions. There must be a comment period for it. Nobody uses this damn comment period except for lobbyists and lawyers and stuff like that, but it must be there by law. So these two people claim that they're ineligible for the student loan forgiveness, but they want to throw the whole thing out for, like literally, like, what is it? Like 3% of the American population is currently applied for this. They want to tell 3% of the population that you can't have student loan forgiveness because we are upset that we didn't get to comment on whether or not we would be eligible for it. They're not mad. They're not claiming to be damage. They're not claiming damages that they wouldn't be able to be eligible. They're claiming damages that they didn't get to argue they should be eligible. And it's fucking crazy that this is a thing that can happen. Like, their entire argument is we didn't get to comment on the student loan program. And here's the thing. The Eighth Circuit Court judge said that they were required by law to have this comment period, and that's why he has blocked it from going into effect, because he wants to see the lawsuit through to the end, and he doesn't want the student loan program happening until the lawsuit is finished. Except in the HEROES Act, which gives the Department of Education license to forgive student loans in times of national emergency. Well, guess what? COVID was declared a national emergency, and so under those grounds, they're allowed to forgive student loan without having to go through the comment period. This is written explicitly in the HEROES Act that was passed by Congress. If we are under a national emergency, you do not have to have the comment period to forgive debt for people who are afflicted. Now, they didn't foresee a pandemic happening when it happened, but it's there for, like, if a hurricane rips through Florida and people lose their job, the government can be like, okay, actually all the people that were affected by the hurricane, don't worry about X amount of debt. And they don't have to have a comment period for it because it's an emergency. So the same justification was used for the HEROES Act, but they just used it. They blanketed the entire country with it because it was a national emergency in every state in the country. I think we can all agree COVID caused significantly more harm to the average person than a hurricane in Florida does. So it's not unreasonable to just be like, yeah, the entire country was negatively affected by COVID in pretty extreme ways. We're going to claim a national emergency so we can have all these powers of like bringing the National Guard in if need be to like give out vaccines like Biden did, or having powers to like shut down businesses so that way we can try to control the spread. Like all that stuff becomes available when you declare a national emergency. And one of the things that also becomes available because it's explicitly written in the damn law is the HEROES Act allows you to forgive student loans. It's without needing a comment period. It's written in the law. And the judge admits, his brief is like 26 pages long, so I'm not going to go through it, but I read a lot of it. And he admits in his brief that this is explicitly written in the law. But he says because it is a new program, because the government had to create a new system to administer the student loan forgiveness, it is now a new program and as such needs a comment period. Even though the HEROES Act says in the law passed by Congress, there is no need for a comment system. He's like playing technicality rules. And I do want to go through like the preamble to his whole justification for this because it reads like Republican propaganda. How this guy became a judge, I don't even know, but we're going to go through it real quick. So he says, this is the part that I want to see right here. The executive branch has also recently explored its ability to forgive student loans. Specifically, the Trump administration considered its statutory authority under the Higher Education Relief Opportunities for Students Act of 2003, the HEROES Act, to forgive student loans due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but the department concluded that it lacks such authority. Okay, so referencing this in a legal brief is nuts because the Justice Department, the Trump administration and any of the departments involved do not make legal precedent. They don't. So you cannot cite them as a source of legal justification because they are not a legal entity. They don't make legal judgments. They can make rules. They can act upon laws that are already in place. But just because they do something does not make it legal precedent. So fucking referencing it in the preamble to your brief is nuts. And then it goes on, and then he goes on to bring up a Nancy Pelosi quote. Also, her words do not make legal precedent. She needs to go through the proper channels for it to be legal at all, and even then, the legislation that is passed does not make it legal precedent. It's once it goes through the judiciary system that it becomes legal precedent. But he quotes her anyway. He says, Nancy Pelosi, quote, "People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be accomplished through an act of Congress." This is Nancy Pelosi speaking in a non-official manner. It does not matter what she says. She does not have legal jurisdiction to make the call whether or not something is legal. So why are you citing this right now? In your legal brief, why are you even bringing Nancy Pelosi up? She doesn't set the precedent. So then it says, President Biden, however, promised to forgive all undergraduate tuition-related federal student debt from 2- and 4-year public colleges and universities for debt holders earning up to $125,000 while campaigning for the presidency. First off, that did not happen. That is a straight-up lie. Biden never, ever, once in his campaign, ever promised to forgive all debt for 2- and 4-year public colleges and universities. That never happened. He flirted with, on the campaign trail, $10,000. He flirted with it, but he wouldn't actually commit to it. And then he actually does the $10,000, and now all of a sudden, in a legal brief, he promised to forgive all undergraduate federal or tuition-related federal student debt. Like, that never happened. So, and there's he says, after becoming president, Biden instructed the department to prepare a memorandum exploring possible legal avenues to justify a loan forgiveness program. The department did so, but changed its tune, concluding that the HEROES Act allows the executive branch to create a loan forgiveness program to address the financial harm of the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so that right there, that line there, the HEROES Act allows the executive branch to create a loan forgiveness program. He's using that language. It's part of the HEROES Act. It's already included in the legislation for the HEROES Act, but he's claiming, using that language, that they're creating a new program when they're not creating a new program. They're implementing an existing law that has an existing exemption from the comment period. And it's just, I mean, again, 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, all they do is this shit. I mean, like, yeah, they have some stuff that's not quite so consequential that I'm sure the judges know the law and don't play games like this with. But when it comes to something large like student loan forgiveness, the 8th Circuit is fucking terrible. It just grinds my fucking gears, man. Like, you're supposed to fucking, like, just read the laws as it's written. You're supposed to not inject your fucking opinion into it, but these people can't help themselves. And I'm not saying that there aren't Democratic judges who also do the same thing. I'm criticizing it all the way around. The only difference is when the Republicans do it, it always seems to be in the direction of, like, trying to fuck people. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't even know why the hell I put this damn earbud in. But I just don't understand it. I don't understand why they consistently come down on the side of, like, screwing the average American. This student loan program would help so many people. It's a temporary solution, mind you. This will not help us long term, but in the short term, so many people would be helped by this. So many people would get some relief from this, and it costs us as a society essentially nothing, because the money has already been printed. It's already been in the economy. There were any, like, effect on inflation or government or government deficit or debt or anything has already happened, because the debt has already been created. So essentially, student loans, repaying the student loans, is just a different form of taxes. We don't have to collect that specific tax that specific predatory way. We could collect that tax revenue some other way that doesn't screw people. We could shift some money around. Lots of times the federal government doesn't even need to collect new taxes to pay for stuff. It just needs to shift funding around to make it match a little closer to what the fucking tax brackets are. I mean, you hear the stories of, like, military budgets that they have to spend the money to keep the budget for next year. But they don't need all the money to do their operations. So at the end of the year, they have a bunch of money left over, so they buy, like, 700 lobsters and throw a fucking party. And it's like, imagine what we could do if we just, like, streamlined some of that shit. Because the student loan program was going to cost, like, estimates were like 500, like, being the middle of the road was like $500 billion over 10 years. It was going to be like $50 billion a year. That's not even a dent in the United States budget. So, like, even if taxes worked like a bank account, which they don't, but even if they did, $50 billion to, you know, cut across the tax brackets that we have is fucking nothing. The government just writes that much extra into the military budget every year. And nobody even notices it. Do you even notice it in your income taxes when the government spends another $50 billion on the military? No. So why is it okay to spend $50 billion on the military, but it's not okay to give some freaking student debt relief? Again, it's not a permanent solution. It's a temporary Band-Aid on a bigger problem, but still, it would help a lot of people. And yet there's people out here suing because they're not going to get tax revenue from some dude in Boston. Or they're pissed that they didn't get to comment on whether or not they'd be eligible. Like, and then the freaking the judges that have been appointed by the Republican presidents they're like, yeah, totally fine. No, yeah, cool. Yeah, no, you wanted to have a comment on a program that legally isn't required to have a comment. I don't actually know if it's legally not required to have a comment section. It says that it's like the HEROES Act only accounts for the current department, but you created a new. It's like the fucking hoops they're jumping through to stop this. Fucking assholes. They're just assholes.